All right, whoever's tuned in for the carnage. If you were here yesterday, we were watching um, this video from A minor error or a minor error. Um, it's a video with the thumbnail. Glenn doesn't want you to see this. Fraud exposed. Spectre Sound Studios is lying about pickups. And the premise of this video is that if you hadn't seen the Spectre Sound Studios test where he tried a bunch of different pickups, a bunch of different humbuckers, and when used at the high gain of like metal productions, they pretty much all sound the same, very close. There were some minor differences that he noted, and of course there's differences in output and everything, so you got to gain match them. And of course how far the pickups are from the bridge, and you know where they are on the string, probably scale length, things like that. Excuse me. But what the A minor error guy claimed was that Glenn said there's no difference. So basically the title was Spectre Sound Studios is lying, but what ended up happening is that this guy is actually lying about what Glenn Fricker had to say. And during part of this video, you know, we're watching through this, and, you know, I'm thinking, well, you know, I think he's just kind of interpreting this wrong. Actually, it started to feel malicious towards the end, but he kept saying things like construction, wood, things like that. Now, there's a part of a construction that does matter to this, right? It's where you put the pickup along the string length. I don't think you're even going to think about claiming that Glenn's going to say that two different pickups sound the same when one's on the neck and one's on the bridge, right? You're not that far, right? So that part of construction matters. I don't know what else in the construction would actually matter. Probably not much. But he actually popped up a video that showed that he was a Tonewood true believer. So let's I'm always up for those, man. That's the most entertaining thing of all, right? So let's have a look at a minor error. Do electric guitar Tonewoods matter? Okay, so here we go.
Oh boy, is this apparently one touchy subject. Up to about a year ago, I didn't even know how contentious this one could get, and oh boy, can you all get super heated about this one. So to quote Winston Churchill, never in the course of YouTube was so much cursing given out by so many to so few. So damn the torpedoes and all of the nasty comments that are probably already inbound before I'm even a minute into this video. I'm gonna wait.
You know, does this guy remind you of Genetically Modified Skeptic? Let's see a video where he's talking like this. Oh, yeah, I know there's one where he's got half a beardo on. Let's see. So if I look at this guy,
People online and in real life, people for me and against me,
I don't know,
ask
he
me.
just so reminds me of this guy. But I'm hopefully Genetically Modified Skeptic would know better than Tonewood, right? Oh God, it's uncanny. These guys are like
All
the
the
same
time.
dude.
Why did you go from fundamentalist evangelical Christian to
That is funny. Okay, anyway, sorry about that. Look, this guy's already shown absolute contempt for legitimate quasi scientific tests. Like, he changed so many variables at a time, and doesn't really present data so much as just subjective opinions. But Tonewood, okay, like I always say it like this. Okay, an electric guitar's pickup is a motor, just like your alternator on your car. Your alternator works by spinning a magnet through some brushes, or spinning some brushes through a magnetic field, converting mechanical energy to electrical output. And a pickup has a what do you call it? Reciprocating. It's a it's a string that goes back and forth over a pickup pole piece. It's a motor. It generates electrical output from mechanical input. And I'll give you this experiment. Go take the hood off of your car, change it from metal to wood, and see if you get a different voltage output from your alternator. Or better yet, just set up a little test bench with your alternator and whatever bracket's holding the alternator on, make it out of wood instead of metal, like some of those old shop generators used to have. And see if you get different electrical output because it's being held up by wood rather than metal. There's potentially a couple things that could change this, but for the most part, that's really what you're looking at. Of course, you could have some damping or whatever, but that's not going to be species of wood dependent. That's going to be density dependent, if at all. I don't think it's really going to make any difference. And we've seen too many people who've made guitars out of like sawdust or pencils or plastic or cardboard or concrete or Jello. I mean, Jim Lill's video is probably the best one on this, where he's got the two benches and there's no real, not even a neck on this guitar. So we know that, I mean, barring some actual evidence, this is the thing. Whenever these pseudoscientists, wackaloons, alternative health nuts, chiropractors, whatever, whenever they make these claims, they won't provide evidence or data. They just make the claim, and that's it. And they expect you to believe it on faith. So anyways, let's see what we got going here.
Into the Tonewoods conversation and present to you what I find to be the most compelling evidence for the case that Tonewood does in fact matter in all types of electric guitars.
Oh yeah. So yesterday, of course, we were talking about how this was, you know, these a lot of these videos from a lot of these types of players, it's just a vehicle so they can show you their playing, when ostensibly they're talking about something else. But, you know, I don't know that's not a fair price to pay. You're being entertained, so maybe you got to watch their commercial. So let me go on from here. I wish it wasn't so much louder than the rest of it, but whatever.
First, as Strawman comments are a bit tiresome, I want to make my position
This is from the guy who strawmanned the hell out of Glenn Fricker yesterday.
entirely clear right from the start. No. Tonewoods will obviously not matter if you're playing in a noisy bar or if you're in some other environment where you can't really hear the guitar.
So here we go again. We talked about this yesterday. Sorry I keep stopping this, but when we're talking about such minute differences that you need super special equipment to hear it or super special circumstances to hear it, it may not as well not exist. And, you know, when we do a lot of these tests, we test for audibility, and we look at, you know, what is the minimum threshold of audibility? If everything else is perfect and this, how loud does it have to be before you can hear the difference? But even that is way, way, way too conservative. In real life, you are going to have all sorts of environmental noises. Listen right now. I got an air conditioner behind me. My voice is kind of messed up right now. I've had a lot of trouble sleeping for quite a while, actually. There's a lot of environmental factors that are messing this up. I'm sure there's environmental noise leaking in from outside. There's probably some wheezes from some lights, monitors, phones, RFI, a lot of stuff that could get in there. So, we're not in that super special thing. And if you got to do this moving the goalpost special pleading thing to hear it, it's like that old example from the early Reaper days where we made like some compressor tests and they complained that you wouldn't be able to hear the difference on an MP3. And I'm like, well, you know, that's all anybody's listening on anymore. So, it's too bad, I guess.
Guitar very clearly. I'm really trying not to be harsh, but these kind of comments are straight up f***ing dumb. Obviously, you're not going to be able to hear the tonal variations on a guitar if you can't hear the guitar well.
This is textbook special pleading, right? Let's just go. Let us go to special pleading. Okay, here we go. You moved the goalposts or made up an exception when your claim was shown to be false. Humans are funny creatures and have a foolish aversion to being wrong. Rather than appreciate the benefits of being able to change one's mind through better understanding, many will invent ways to cling to old beliefs. One of the most common ways that people do this is to post-rationalize a reason why what they thought to be true must remain to be true. It is usually very easy to find a reason to believe something that suits us, and it requires integrity and genuine honesty with oneself to examine one's own beliefs and motivations without falling into the trap of justifying our existing ways of seeing ourselves and the world around us. Example, Edward Johns claimed to be psychic, but when his abilities were tested under proper scientific conditions, they magically disappeared. Edward then explains this, saying that one had to have faith in his abilities for them to work. So that's your special pleading fallacy when what he's doing right here.
That should be evident on the surface, and as such, I will be ignoring all of these comments from here on out. So throughout this video, when I'm referring to...
So his claim that you can hear the difference between tone woods is modified by saying that you can't hear the difference between tone woods unless all you can hear is the guitar, apparently. Because how else are you going to hear a guitar?
Tone woods and the differences, I am referring to specifically a recording environment only. What I mean by that is recording an electric guitar with either a real or virtual amp with a tone that is specifically dialed to be transparent and allow the qualities of that instrument to shine.
There are so many caveats on this thing. Okay, so this is just absolutely giant digging in special pleading at this point. Let's talk about how you would use a guitar in the real world. But the craziest thing here is that I think even if you grant him all this stuff, you're still not going to be able to ABX between these things.
Importantly, this means monitoring and listening to said audio with a good set of headphones or with a great set of reference speakers in a good listening environment.
So in this magical unicorn land, where you're actually never going to actually play your guitar, or where it's going to be in a mix and all the other instruments are muted and just the guitar's soloed and the mastering compressors and EQs have been turned off and any kind of mixing has been turned off, and all you get is this one little guitar tone thingy, then you'll be able to hear the difference between woods. Okay, even if that were true, who cares? But I don't think it's true.
If you do not have either, unfortunately, I'm sorry, you are in no position to have an opinion and make any statement on the tonal variations. You will straight up not be able to hear them if you're using iPhone.
Okay, so if you don't have magical speakers and you can't hear these things, what the hell's the point? What do you listen on? Do you stop your car? Okay, so no more listening to music in your car because, you know, there's wind noise, road noise, engine noise, exhaust noise. There's the stereo balance that you're completely thrown out of in your car because you're sitting closer to one side speaker than the other. All the acoustic anomalies caused by the different materials and shapes inside your car. So I guess, are we saying that if you're ever listening in your car, you would never be able to hear the difference between these two guitars or two magical tone woods? Then what the hell's the point? People listen to music where they listen to music. And if you need these magical devices in order to hear this difference, who cares? But it doesn't matter, because even with these magical devices, I will predict that he's not going to show any real data that shows that there's a difference between these things anyway.
Tablet speakers, laptop speakers, the earbuds.
Again, this is, I'm not going to say the term because I don't want this video getting nailed out of here, but this is the same fallacy as blaming the victim here.
Buds that came with your smart device. When discussing audio, clarity and being able to hear is everything. You would think this would be self-evident, but
This guy is such a Dunning-Kruger. I'm so sorry about this, but I know I'm 2 minutes in, and I'm already taking 17 minutes. I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up.
I'm also not talking about guitar tones in a recording scenario where lack of clarity is the desired effect. Or in other words, tones that are trashy or overly dark or
Listen, if the guitars are so different, it doesn't matter what you do to them. They're going to be different. Kind of funny how this ties back into Glenn's video yesterday about how the pickups sound pretty much the same, isn't it?
Processed for a certain effect. Obviously, if lack of clarity is the goal, then you're not going to hear the difference in tone woods.
This guy, okay, I'm so sorry I keep stopping, but everything this guy says is so subjective.
Okay, with that out of the way, let's get it.
Here we go again.
Content here on my channel, A Minor Error, and a sizable portion of that content is in-depth guitar reviews. Instrument, and I'm happy to report that overwhelmingly the response is always still respectful and polite. They just disagreed with my conclusions. That's great. Civil conversation on the internet. Who would have thought it? Oh boy, has that started to change in the last couple years though. These days I get plenty of snarky or sarcastic comments, but my personal favorite, the ones that come in hot and heated out of no.
Hey, Sensodyne. So this is this guy. He made a video yesterday claiming that Glenn Fricker was lying about pickups, and then he went and lied about Glenn. I could actually show where he lied, whereas Glenn didn't actually lie about this stuff. But while we were watching the video, it turned out that this guy was actually a Tonewood believer. And so I wanted to watch this video on how he's going to show the existence of Tonewood on an electric guitar. But he's already done so much special pleading, fallacious special pleading, that it kind of doesn't matter what he says at this point. He's kind of painted himself into a corner. Yeah. So maybe the guitar shop did bad mic swap, but it lacks the sustain that even $200 guitars have. It's funny. I was in this giant quest for sustain, and I went and saved up a lot of money and traded a lot of stuff that I actually wanted to keep, and got some like neck through body guitars. And then when I went to actually measure the things, there really wasn't much difference, but the bolt-on guitars, oh my God, I want to kill myself even telling this story here. The bolt-on guitars ended up having more sustain than the neck through body guitars. There is a Jim Lill video. Let me see. Jim Lill sustain. If you haven't seen this yet, I seriously recommend you watch this video. This is by Jim Lill. It's called Tested, Where Does the Sustain Come From in an Electric Guitar? And he's not the only one. There's been a bunch of people who have made guitars out of all different types of materials, but it's really trippy where the sustain comes from. And I think one of the things that he found, or that somebody else found, it's not so much the sustain that's so different between the guitars acoustically. And it's weird because acoustically a guitar could sound like it has tons of sustain, and then electrically it didn't. And they're trying to figure out, wait, why would that be? And a lot of times it just comes to, okay, how much is the pickup's pole pieces yanking on the strings and shutting them up, which actually didn't make that big of a difference. But the difference in the amount of compression that a louder pickup had, or a pickup that was, closer to the string, putting out a higher output. Just those blower switches where like I have on my guitar where I just have like a push pull pot and I bypass the entire volume, the whole RC circuit, had like a really drastic effect on sustain. I'm like, no, why should this do this? And so now I'm so paranoid, I don't even put tone knobs on most of my guitars anymore. But when it really comes down to it, it was so little. But if there's really like a serious sustain problem, it's, mechanically there's probably something weird I mean, that's really what it should come down to. The really crazy thing is those, what are those called? The Graphtec String Saver saddles or whatever. I read so much and I thought, by thinking about it, that those things would absolutely destroy your sustain because the saddles were soft, and yet they didn't. So that's, it's really, I would go watch this Jim Lill video. I think you'll get a lot out of it. There may not be much actionable stuff out of it, but I think you will enjoy it if you haven't seen it yet. So please go watch that video.
Nowhere.
How's that supposed to make me feel?
Initially, it was pretty hard to not get defensive. I spent a lot of time to make my guitar reviews, arguably too much time, so sometimes it's hard to stay above the fray. And I haven't always succeeded. I kind of think, it's okay to treat a rude person rudely right back. If they can dish it out, they can take it.
Yeah.
And then I saw Jim Lill's video that kind of lit the internet on fire and started to make
Well, good. He's talking about Jim Lill too. This was a different video. This is one about where does tone come from. And, oh man, he got fried on this thing, but he was right. His detractors had nothing but magic and religion and subjective nonsense to throw back at him.
a little bit more sense.
I highly recommend watching this video. It's Jim Lill tested where does the tone come from in an electric guitar.
I'll be the first to admit, Jim seems like a really nice guy, and he did make a compelling video in that he was able to make two guitars.
I know, sorry again. This guy is like the master of the passive-aggressive, backhanded compliment, insult, whatever. And I was making the case yesterday that if I'm living in Hawaii. We have these airlines here. All the airlines were kind of the same. Aloha, Hawaiian, whatever. And the stewardesses, like, they have this way of saying mahalo, which pretty much means thank you, or aloha, which is like, I'm not even going to get into that, but they mean it to mean hello, goodbye, whatever. The way they say it just means go to hell. And it's a lot like when you hear thank you. And this is the way this guy talks about other people before he fries them. So kind of funny, but here we go.
Sound remarkably similar. He also sure put in the work on that one. That video didn't happen overnight, but I do have two criticisms for his video.
Oh boy.
The first is that he didn't provide any sort of like a frequency analysis.
You never provided your frequency analysis. Come on. You had the whole day yesterday to show all these like Glenn lying about pickups. And that was the thing we wanted to see. Let's see some objective stuff. Look, he could have ABX'd this thing. You wouldn't have been able to tell. Let's get out of here. No charts to prove his claims. That was exactly what we were saying about you yesterday, right? So, man, this is some gigantic hypocrisy here.
Of the different tones. He just kind of pronounced them the same and moved on.
No, he didn't. He didn't pronounce them the same. He played them back to back and let you hear them. That's not
Secondly,
lie.
at least what I find to be the far more interesting question was that he didn't experiment with different like body woods.
Why should he? Why should he? Listen. Oh, yeah. Hey, no. Okay. So that's what's cool about this guy. Now, this guy actually has some killer. Okay. So I don't know. I'm going to date myself here, but I loved Doom. I mean, I learned how to type by talking crap in the chat playing Doom, basically. And he has some really cool Doom-related stuff, which is actually pretty badass. I really like it, actually. So,
In other words, keep everything identical, but try an alder body or a mahogany body to see if that...
but why would he? He just showed that wood or no wood didn't even make any difference. So if wood versus no wood doesn't make a difference, why should different woods make a difference? And you guys keep acting like it's species of wood. And go down to a hardware store right now and pick, what do you got? Douglas fir. Is that usually what's out there? Redwood, cedar, Douglas fir. Go out to where you actually pick up the stuff and throw it in your truck and go take a look. Lift up one piece of wood. It's going to weigh nothing. Pick up another piece of wood. It's going to be heavy like lead. Pick up one that's going to be full of knots, and it's going to have grain flowing one way. And another one's going to have grain flowing another way. If anything, if the wood makes a difference, those factors are going to be way stronger than just the density. Are you telling me that the DNA microscopic little molecules inside the wood itself are going to have more of an effect than the density, than the weight, than the stiffness, than the the hardness, the shape, the amount of like knots and discrepancies in the wood. Those microscopic little molecules are gonna have more effect than that. Get out of here with that stuff.
That made any difference. To me, in my opinion, that's what most people are talking about when they refer to tone woods, and would have been far more fascinating.
No, he showed that wood versus no wood made no difference. So it doesn't matter if two different woods.
I'll be breaking this
I don't even know what this point is. Bonkers.
video up into 5 parts. It's probably going to end up being pretty long. I'm going to cover how an electric guitar even works in the first place, show the evidence that I think supports that tone woods do in fact exist.
Should I just skip there? Or you guys want to watch this whole video?
I'll share some audio examples. I'll also share my own personal experiences and anecdotes.
And again, the plural of anecdote is anecdotes, not evidence. And the most dangerous thing you can ever hear from a medical professional is, in my experience, right? So 3 words that Mark Crislip always likes to say. Let's see. Mark Crislip, in my experience. So, so in this science-based medicine blog here, let's see. Harriet Hall wrote this one. So that's actually cool. So let's see. Okay, so it says, before we had evidence-based medicine, we had another kind of evidence-based EBM, experience-based medicine. Mark Crislip has said that the 3 most dangerous words in medicine are "in my experience." I agree wholeheartedly. So, anecdote, I don't care about your anecdote. I don't care about your subjective whatever. Let's see some actual data. But anyway, let's go on.
And last but not least, there will be a section dedicated just to people who don't think tone woods exist. I think judging by the comments, we'll see who didn't make it to the end of the video. Without further ado,
This guy's Dunning-Kruger and arrogance is off the charts, which really means we just got to get them working for us, right?
let's go.
Again.
Phenomenon first proposed by the scientist Michael Faraday in the year 1831, called electromagnetic induction. This phenomenon is how the guitar pickup detects the sound of the vibrating steel string. So we need to talk about how a pickup works.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't detect the sound of a vibrating steel string. Let me play that back again. Make sure I'm not misquoting him.
Of the vibrating is how the guitar pickup detects the sound of the vibrating steel string. So
okay. No, it doesn't. It does not detect the sound of a vibrating steel string in any way, shape, or form. Not a bit of that is true. A pickup is not a microphone. A pickup is a motor, just like your alternator in your car, just like a generator. It doesn't. What did he say? Detect the. Hold on.
Called electromagnetic induction. This phenomenon is how the guitar pickup detects the sound of.
Okay, it doesn't detect the sound of your string. It converts mechanical force into electrical current. That's what it does. It takes windings, or in this case, it's not windings. It's a string going back and forth over a magnetic pole piece, and breaking the magnetic field and creating electrical force, converting mechanical energy to electrical energy, basically.
The vibrating steel string. So we need to talk about how a pickup works and its components.
So right off the bat, you've already poisoned the well by saying it has something to do with sound. It has nothing to do with sound. Nothing. It has to do with mechanical energy.
From the Sweetwater website.
A guitar pickup comprises one or more magnets inserted into a bobbin and wound with conductive wire. This simple device transforms mechanical energy, string vibrations, into
Oh, wow. It sounds like something somebody just said there. The simple device transforms mechanical energy, string vibrations, into electrical energy. There you go.
electrical energy, which flows into your guitar amp where it is transformed back into
Not sound. Doesn't detect sound or whatever. It's not a microphone. Pickups are not microphones. Pickups are not microphones. Even microphonic pickups aren't actually microphones, although you could, I guess you could call it that.
mechanical energy as sound waves.
At its most basic, all an electric guitar needs is just a vibrating string, a pickup to detect those vibrations, and then an amplifier to amplify them.
I don't really like the term detect. Detect, I don't think that's the term we should be using. I don't think it's really going to hurt that much, but it may give you a wrong idea of what actually this thing is doing. Measuring might be a better word, but really it's just converting.
The video clip that I've been showing throughout this section is Jack White doing exactly that in the documentary It Might Get Loud.
Well, you know, like our noise gate detects when the sound hits a certain level, but yeah, it doesn't really detect sound. I guess that's almost a philosophical question. Like, what is a sound? If a tree falls in a forest, how many communications engineers need to have it land on them before it becomes a sound?
Who says you need to buy a guitar?
Right.
Have I mentioned I cannot stand Jack White? Anyway, boom, done. That's all that's required to create an electric guitar. Because that's all that required, early electric guitars featured barely a body at all or really no body at all, and the body was only added after the fact because people thought it looked weird if it was basically just a broomstick.
This guy he's writing my script for me. I don't even need to say anything. This is actually why. You remember the log? Was it Les Paul? Who was it with the log?
Okay, so since in its most basic form all we need is a vibrating steel string and a pickup, how is it possible that the body of an electric guitar shapes or alters the tone at all? Simply put, the string does not vibrate in a vacuum. When a string is plucked, it sends some vibrations back through everything that it is touching.
Okay, now here is where it becomes actually plausible, right? Is that there's going to be some effect to the harmonic content of a string. Like a string is not just I'm sure there's good pictures of this on the internet, but as the string's being plucked, there's going to be like different waves and different anti-waves and things going around. It's actually probably going to get pretty complex, although, you know, if you're being honest, a lot of times you can get pretty close with sine waves, but it's true. Things could affect how that string is vibrating, and that's where this body stuff, you know, it's plausible. Like, you know, would a guitar sustain be a lot longer if you made it out of concrete? And I think if you watch Jim Lill's video, you might think that. And however, they didn't sound any different. The guitar made out of air didn't sound any different than the guitar made out of concrete. When you put the same pickups in at the same spot and play the same thing. I think there's kind of a scale to this. So if you, I guess you could take a nail and a tuner and make a string and take a high-speed camera and pluck that string and try to do things to the two mounting points where the tuner mounts and where the bridge or the nail or whatever you're using mounts, and let them move around a little bit and see how much that influences the string. If it moves a lot, you wouldn't be able to play the guitar at all. But even if it moves a very lot, you'll notice that you probably won't even be able to see the difference in the harmonics that string is going on. There's a video of this somewhere. It actually wasn't for guitar strings. It was actually about this. Food Ninja, more of this guy. this video, I'll see if I can find it, but there's some Star Wars nerd out there that knows exactly which video I'm talking about. This guy's taking this long wire and hitting it with the hammer, and it makes that laser sound in Star Wars. And yeah, Jim Little rules, man. But there's this video where he shows this long, like an electrical cord, like the grounding wire on a telephone pole, and he's hitting it with the hammer or something, and it makes that laser noise, that Star Wars noise. And they changed a lot of stuff about the mountings on either side in this giant thing where you would definitely be able to see the difference when you changed what medium the two hard points of the attachment points of this cable were on. And yet, even with the high-speed camera, you couldn't see anything. And I mean, I'm talking like the guy had it in a really soft foam kind of thing to try and change the pitch. And you really didn't see much difference. Yeah, Foley's crazy. But this was an example where you're looking at what we're claiming about the guitar strings and how things would make a difference. And the scale of the change is just not enough. But I think that's what he's going to be making a claim here. So let's see. But I don't like how he says how the wood alters the tone. He says I think you should more say like how the wood could alter the tone.
And that includes the bridge, the nut, the tuners. These vibrations then continue into everything else that they are touching, which is really the neck and the body. All of these other components vibrate and then alter the way the string is resonating.
Okay, so we just talked about this. So what you'd have to do to show that this is true is show that those things actually have that much of a difference on the way their strings resonates to get to the threshold of audibility. And like I was just talking about in that Star Wars laser thing example, even with a giant cable of that size where you should really be able to see these changes, you just couldn't.
Which alters the harmonic overtones of the string. Basically,
So he's describing what I said could be the plausible way that this could happen, but nobody's ever shown that there's enough of that the scale of this change could even be enough to hear.
They wind up leaving some sort of a fingerprint on the way the string is resonating, and that is what changes the tone of the string. Now, how is it possible that the wood is changing that tone, right? Like, isn't all wood basically the same? Well, here's what the Fender website had to say.
Yes, because I get my science from Fender. How could the wood not play a role in your guitar's tone? The answer is that it does. It just does. Believe me or else. I'm the Pope. Generally, heavier woods like mahogany resonate differently than a medium-bodied wood like alder and a lighter wood like basswood. Has anybody seen the Paul Reed Smith? I call it the Paul Reed Smith xylophone video. So he's trying to make fun of somebody asking him about tone wood, and he takes a piece of wood and then he hits it with a stick or something. And one piece of wood sounds different than another piece of wood. Okay, I'll go hit a car with a hammer. I guarantee you're gonna get a different pitch when you hit the fender than when you hit the door, or the hood. But that doesn't mean that the car's going to go faster or slower. I don't know.
Generally, heavier woods like mahogany resonate differently
These
than
are just bald assertions. This is like when you're watching, if you ever watch debates between like scientists and religious apologists, this is like their thing. They just bald claim and just straight old assert it and don't give any evidence. Don't worry about that part.
medium-bodied wood like alder and a lighter wood like basswood.
Or put another way, from the Andertons website,
The tone of your guitar is undoubtedly the result of a team effort. Pickup types, string gauges...
Undoubtedly. This is those kind of words. Like, you see this in the science wars all the time, when the pseudoscientists, when the jelly juices come out or the MLM scammers come and try and get you to eat their magic super energy vitamin thingamabobber that, undoubtedly this is more healthy. Undoubtedly.
Scale lengths and bridge designs are just a handful of things to consider. But arguably, one of the biggest contributing factors is the choice of wood.
Yes, arguably. We're arguing it right now.
for the body, neck, and fingerboard, not least because they make up 90% of the construction of your guitar. Different combinations can yield different results, and while pickups, hardware, and other components can be changed in time, electric guitar tone woods stay put once assembled.
This is why exploring the different tonal characteristics and qualities of different materials is important to you as a player. You cannot change them after the fact, okay? So let's see some...
Again, though, man, I mean, let's say that wood made a difference. Let's say that the body of a guitar. You remember when they used to make all these claims about how the shape of the guitar made a big difference? And I remember the claims of when they were talking about the Jackson Kelly, you know, and I really wanted a Kelly so bad, but you know, it oh my God. All right, let me just go on. I just got to shut up. Okay. So now we're going to get the evidence after we get his commercial for his guitar playing, whatever. I was going to say it again. Even if the wood mattered, there's no way that it's the species of wood. Again, go to the hardware store, ask for any species of wood, and when you go out to the lumber pile, you're going to find drastically different pieces of wood. It's going to be the same species. It's going to be different weights, different hardness, different flexibility. There's going to be so many differences in those two pieces of wood of the same species. Sensodyne asks, Les Paul doesn't have crunchier sound than a Strat. There's a couple things going on. I don't know if you call it crunchier or whatever, but there's a couple good videos on this, but you can actually see this if you do some recordings and put a spectrum analyzer up. The Les Paul is generally a 24 3/4 inch scale length guitar, and a Strat is generally a 25.5 inch scale length. And if you were to, like, you know, let's say you set up a comb filter on a string, those harmonic bumps are going to be closer together on the shorter scale length than they are on the longer scale length. Like, I got a 29 inch guitar, and when you play up on the super high frets, I mean, like 21st fret and everything, it doesn't even feel like an ukulele up there. Like there's so much room to play, and the notes, they just sound so clear. Now, I don't know if that's because I can fret them easier, or if it's really because the harmonics are the bumps, the nodes, whatever, are farther away from each other up there. It's more like a sine wave. And so I think, I wonder how much of this is actually confirmation bias or how much is true. But, you know, in general, the wisdom, which of course we're always fighting on this channel, right? But the wisdom has always been that the Strat produces bell-like tones, and the Les Paul is thick and fat, you know. How much of that is the string tension being a little bit less for the same string at the shorter scale length of Les Paul? How much is the harmonic nodes? If you ever looked at so it's a 29 inch 7 string, and the regular 6 strings are tuned regular, and the bottom string is a drop A. And I'm playing 8s on it, but believe it or not, 8s on a 29 feel like 13s on a 25 inch scale or something like that. I mean, it's freaking hard to bend on 8s on the 29 inch. I'll tell you, it's pain, but man, it is so easy to play those high notes. Let me see if I have a room mode generator. Let's see if one of these works out okay. So I'm just gonna say 12 feet by 16 feet by 9 feet high. Okay, calculate the room modes. This one doesn't really show you the bumps, but you can see that. Let's just look at this bottom one. So we got what are we looking at? 47, 141, 235. Okay, so let's just take a picture of this right here. Okay, and I'm going to make this room bigger. I'm going to make this 20 feet now. Okay, so it's not straight apples to apples, but if you look at this one, so there's like 100, it's about 100 hertz here apart. Or like you're quadrupling this number here. This one, you're pretty much quadrupling. You should start seeing a bigger difference between the bumps as the rooms get bigger. This is actually a bad way to do it. I need to do this with the just one room mode, not the let's see, 25. Actually, no, we should go across the top. Okay, so I was misreading how you read this chart. So hold on, let me do this again. Sorry. We go across the top here. Let's change this to 35 feet. Okay, so now let's compare these. So here's 35, 60. So this is still too mathematically much the same. Anyway, I'm failing at showing you this because this is the wrong calculator. The old Ethan Liner one that was like a DOS calculator or whatever would really show you this. But the nodes are going to be closer together on the shorter scale length than on the longer scale length. And allegedly that should be enough to make it clearer or fatter or whatever. But now I've taken this on total rabbit hole. I'm sorry. Let me get back to.
Evidence can be found on the Strandberg YouTube channel, probably one of the most scientific videos I've seen on the topic and clearly more detailed than the Jim Lill video. Ola's son made 4 identical.
Okay, so I found this video because of the other guy's video. Now he's saying that the Strandberg one is more detailed than the Jim Lill video. So we're gonna have to watch that one of these days. Strandberg Tonewood video. Let me see if I can find this thing. Ooh, the Tonewood debate is over. Wow, that's interesting. The Tonewood debate is over. Let's see.
Hi, I'm Ola Strandberg, the founder of Strandberg Guitars. Today I'm proud to present something that you've been waiting for years. Take a look. That's right, the Varberg is back. We've been telling you for years it was too complicated to manufacture in serial production, but we worked out the kinks, and along the lines we also made some massive improvements. And not enough by just bringing it back, we also scoured the internet for comments and feedback and checked all our inboxes for your requests, and the answer was clear.
Okay, this has to be an April Fool's joke. Hold on. Sorry. Let's see. Maybe this is the one he's. No, it's 2 minutes. He said it's more detailed than the Jim Lill video. Maybe he's joking. Is he joking? Let's see this one. I mean, it's only short. Wait. Aren't these tuned different? Hold on. So let's say that these are giant differences here compared to Jim Lill's video. When you mic these up and you put them in a mix, are you going to be able to hear the difference? Remember, that's the claim. Like, this is supposed to make a difference. Even if we were going to say that these are different, and man, we're talking threshold of audibility. Let's look at, we can't see. Okay, kind of funny that we're not seeing. What's the scale here? Is this 144 dB down? If it is, who cares? Yeah, is it okay if the graph doesn't show the dB scale? Exactly. Thank you. Sensodyne called it and shot it out of the park. Maybe he's mistaken. Every guitar sounds different from every other guitar to some extent. That's why I played every acoustic in my price range before selecting the one I bought. Now, acoustic is a whole different story. We're talking about electrics. But, you know, I'm sure you've seen the things where like perfectly good sounding acoustic guitars made out of cardboard, balsa wood, carbon fiber, plastic, other kind of things like that. Yeah, where's the scale? I don't believe this. Are we looking at a real-time sense? You gonna tell me that every single time you click this, you're getting it right on 25? That's pretty good. I don't think so. Okay. Does anybody believe that these were picked the same? Here, let's play this again. Alder and Koa. Okay, not only this almost sounds like the difference between like putting a neck pickup and a bridge pickup. Either that or plucked way closer to the neck. Listen to these two hits again. Come on. It's a very weird pattern here. It's always bright, dull, bright, dull. Let's see if it's... Yep, bright, dull. Bright. Let's see if this next one's dull. Dull. There's some fishy on here. And you know, the funniest thing is, what do you read when people describe the sound of Koa wood when it comes to electric guitars? Bright, right? Bright. Brighter than ebony, brighter than maple, bright. Koa is bright. And every time I'm here, we're hearing Koa is dull. And yet, it seems like there's some kind of weird pattern here where it's just bright, dull, no matter what the wood says. I'm sure it's hitting the Koa softer. What is that clip sound at the beginning? Hold on. The brighter stuff always has a clipping sound. What is that? Here. Yeah, a little click. It's always on the brighter one. Yeah, you're not going to ABX those. Whatever. Okay, let's go on from here.
Rigs using EGS bridges, lace alumina pickups, and strung each rig with a low E and a high E string. The only components that changed from rig to rig were the woods that they used for the bodies. And they used alder, koa, swamp ash, and zebrawood. In the video, they include charts that show the frequency analysis of each clip as well.
All the BMXers will appreciate this right here.
As an audio recording of the test. If wood makes no difference at all, then the frequency responses should basically be...
How dirty do you feel that that they didn't put the scale? They didn't tell you what units they were measuring it, where the dB values were there.
all the same, and they are not. He begins the test on the low E string, and you can see there's a wide range of frequencies.
Yeah, such a wide range. It's so different. It's the same damn thing. And I mean, easily accounted for by picking differences.
Frequency variations present. These frequency variations are showing.
What is it? What does this 11593 even mean? Is that like the fundamental? What are we looking at? This ain't span, is it? I wonder if we could get the units by looking at span. I don't think so. But look, how different are these things? Really?
Showing us exactly where that string is resonating differently due to the different bodywoods. It's worth noting that the changes in
Okay, so again, you just made a claim that it's due to the different bodywoods. We don't know that. That's not the only variable that got changed here.
tone in the original video are very apparent in the audio recordings. I'm only leaving that out for the sake of time in this video. It's already going to be long enough. When continuing the
The clipping sound might just be that the pick hitting it harder on some of these picks, maybe.
test onto the high E string, we can see this trend of...
This is why you got to double blind stuff, because, even if you mean to be perfectly honest, if you think that something's going to sound different than another thing, you may make that happen. That's why, like, for medicine, right? It's the double-blinded, placebo-controlled, statistically significant study.
frequency variations continue. Again, it's the body...
But really, are these different? Are they really different? Let's look at the fundamentals here, or the louder harmonics. Not the fundamentals. The fundamentals look identical. Like let's be honest, but it's going to be the relationship between these two. If these are drastically different, that's where you get something like a violin versus a cello or whatever. So let's look at this. Look at this trend here. So for most of these, there's a brighter one. Interesting. So you got it's a strange looking one right here. For the most part, you got a strong fundamental, slightly lower first harmonic, quite a bit lower in the third and fourth, and then it starts popping back up on the sixth and seventh. Let's see about that pattern: third, fourth, 5, 6, 7, higher. These generally have the same sort of trend going on here. That kind of matters. So now we have a EM test with different pick materials: metal, plastic, wood. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's hard to it's genuinely hard. Like, that's why I don't give these guys a lot of crap. There was a college student who tried to do a test like this, and he had so much trouble. He made like a pendulum so that it would kind of pick the same every time, and it was still pretty hard to get the picking the same.
wood that is imparting this change in the resonant frequencies, which changes the tonal characteristics of the string. This sonic signature or fingerprint lays the groundwork that everything
they all have
else
the
is going
same
to
sonic
interact.
fingerprint.
I like to liken this to like the chassis of a car. It's the foundation that everything will interact, from the player to
that's
any
just
effects
explained.
to the amp. This is especially why I find it rather amusing when people point out that it's possible to make guitars out of other materials besides just wood. Any material will change the way the string is resonating. It is
No.
not exclusive to
No.
just wood.
You're
Plastic,
claiming this. Why is it funny? People make guitars out of other materials all the time, and we really, honestly, we got to get off of wood, man. It's the most unstable garbage material to make stuff out of. Like, look at all the trouble we have with truss rods.
concrete, carbon fiber, metal, it does not matter. Of course you can make a guitar out of all sorts of different
Should have just stuck with the "it does not matter" because that was the truth.
materials, and those different materials will still resonate differently
Nope. You got to show the evidence for that.
and change the tonal characteristics of the string. Wood is just the oldest and the most common. This is why, regardless of your opinion, if it's a large change or a small change or how much of a difference it's going to make in the end, you are wrong if you say that there is no change caused by the materials of the guitar.
You don't know that it's the material that made this change. That's just your claim.
There simply is. So, let's hear all this in action.
It's just a bald assertion. I got to tell you.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right. I'll see you, Poo Ninja. Okay, so now the audio example. So remember the claim. You need super special magical unicorn pixie dust speakers in order to hear the difference here. But we're going to give you some audio examples anyway. But make sure you're listening on the best speakers you can get. So either it does it matter or does it not matter? If it matters, you're going to hear it on crappy speakers. If it doesn't matter, then you're not going to hear it on anything.
They use an actual amp and some effects, and all they do is change the body woods of each guitar. For the sake of time, I'm going to be editing this video, but, you know, links to the Strandberg one and this one are down below in the doobly-doo if you'd like to see the whole thing. I'd also actually like to add that I think that they've dialed the amp far too raw and unprocessed for my own taste, and his playing is like a little bit meh, but the tonal characteristics and changes are there, and I find them very fascinating. In this clip, all the tones are going to be using the bridge pickup, and again, everything is identical, they're just changing the body.
Okay, here's the claim. Everything is identical, they're just changing the body. Let's see.
Woods on the guitar. Couldn't hear a difference?
Ooh, at least this one's got a scale on it. Look, dude, if you ever watch this video, I will give you one of my guitars, any guitar you want, if you can ABX between these guitars at a greater probability than chance with just this video. We're going to do it blind. We're going to put in an ABX tester. If you hear it, I'll give you a guitar.
In the next
Okay,
clip,
so let's remember the claim right there. And I want you to watch this guy's fingers. Remember the claim. Nothing has been changed except for the body wood of the guitar. Watch his left hand. Actually, watch his ring finger, okay?
in the next clip,
It's
all
just
of the
details like that. You really gotta, it's hard to do proper tests, man. You really gotta watch this stuff. There's, you know, because you're never going to get the same performance, you probably have to do a massive run of the same riff. Just get the variations to kind of even out.
tones are from the neck pickup. Couldn't hear.
Okay, so I'll just call myself, I'm absolutely a noob. I can't tell the difference between things. I didn't record hundreds, thousands of albums in my life. Hundreds. And I just can't hear the difference there. I mean, you know, if you really forced me to, I could probably pick out that things sounded different. But if you were to ABX me a bunch of playing from any of those three clips, I'd never be able to tell you difference. So what? I'm a noob. I suck. Whatever. I admit it. Whatever. That isn't going to amount to a hill of beans on nothing right there.
Hear the differences again?
I mean, seriously, dude, come on. These are, and what are we looking at? Is this the average of the whole entire time? What is it that we're looking at? These are so exactly the same. This is no, you got to be kidding me. You're telling me this is a difference here. I mean, I could get more variation out of this just by moving the pick a millimeter forward or back. I don't know if this guy actually believes what he's saying or if this is like giant confirmation bias or what.
I will admit, I do not like the way the alder sounds in this video at all. The mid sound overemphasized, unbalanced compared to the other two, and kind of like a poke in the eye.
This is like one of those what do you call sommeliers, right? The wine tasters that get paid all this money, and then it finally turned out that when they actually blind tested these guys, they couldn't tell the difference between white and red wine. After all that talking.
The fun part about all of this is you can completely disagree with me, and that's totally fine. Your choice and preference is yours as a player. The important thing here is that the tonal changes are present.
No, they're
what
not.
you choose as a player
You're
is
just
part
claiming
of what will make your sound as a guitar player. Are the changes a little bit subtle? Not to my ears, at least. But if they are for you, that's totally fine as well. It's not that I have some sort of golden
I
set
know
of
I
ears.
can't
It's
say
just-
it. I can't say it. It's a thing about the dress, but this is the fallacy of blaming the victim here. Ah, God, this is just killing me. Oh. I mean, this is really what we're doing here, right? Bald assertion. This is bald assertion in advertising, but you know, this is close to the fallacious way that you use it. Sometimes it's referred to as a non-establishment claim, is a subcategory of a false advertising claim. A bald assertion is a statement used in marketing, advertising, or promotions by a company without proof or evidence of truth. You gotta bring the evidence. That, at least we got charts this time, but they were so close together. Are you saying those sound different? I know he is saying they sound different. I would ABX these things, and let's see if you can really pick them.
that I've been recording and producing records, quote-unquote professionally, for about 15 years now. And in some of my productions, especially...
There are guys who've been recording records for 50 years that insist they can hear the difference between mic preamps, and then it turns out they can't. So I got to pull it up again. Remember the sound on sound test. I think Lynn Fuston did a test, and they ended up picking like the Mackeys and the Arts and like the super cheapy mic preamps as the best ones.
Early on, I didn't get the tones that I was looking for and was very disappointed. Through the process of experimenting and finding what I like is when I've learned what to listen for. And again, remember, you need to be listening to these clips with good headphones or good reference speakers to
There we go again about the unicorn farts and the pixie dust. You ain't going to hear it unless you got these magical speakers, and yet somehow it makes such a big difference. It matters, man. It matters, but you can only hear it if you have these special headphones.
hear the difference. It's also worth noting that double tracking is the most common technique used in the studio when recording guitars. So the second you get multiple layers of a guitar going, those tonal variations that you thought were so small might not be in the context of a
You
full
got to establish that might there.
mix. And speaking of a full mix, my band's first record was called Suds for Spuds, and it was released in 2015, and it was recorded using a variety of different guitars. I recorded my guitar parts on 2 cheap Ibanez guitars that had upgraded DiMarzio pickups, and the other guy used all high-end, well-made instruments. My tones suffered. There was a
Are you saying that Ibanez isn't a well-made instrument? I will happily take that Ibanez that you don't think is a well-made instrument. I'll give it to the kids over here at the school, and they'll shred you on it.
very clear gap and gulf in quality of tone. Mine sounded thin.
What is a quality of tone? How do you measure that? Is there quality units? Like, is it? See, he's saying about thin and thick and stuff, but what does that mean? I mean, if it's as a solo, you might want it thin so it pokes out, or maybe it's a rhythm, you want it thin so it cuts. And what does thin mean anyway?
And buzzy and lacked any of the complexity or richness in his tone. It's important to point out here that we were both running good quality Mason
These are at this point. This is just weasel words. I don't know if we should. Do I want to bother with this?
Boogie amps. He was using a Mark V and I was using a Triaxis Simul 290 rig. It's very important to note as well that I engineered, mixed, and mastered the entire EP myself. Believe me, if I could have improved the quality and the way my guitar sounded, short of going back and re-recording the whole record, I would have.
All right, I don't want to be snarky and stuff, but at this point, this is you failing. Sorry. This is, look, there's times where you can't fix the guitar part, okay? But if really the only difference there was the wood that these guitars are made out of or the pickups or whatever, no, that's you a failure as an engineer. Sorry. I know that sounds harsh, but there's no real way around that one right there.
I was learning as we went for the Suds for Spuds
So you
sessions.
just said it. You were learning as you went. It's not your fault. You don't know what you're doing back then. Come on, man. Don't try and blame it on the wood. You're learning. There's nothing wrong with learning. And I bet it sounded fine anyway. I know this guy's saying how much better his friend's guitar sounded than his. I bet you it sounded fine.
And unfortunately, I had made my bed and had to sleep in it on that.
Hey, let's just check this out. What did he say it was? Suds for Spuds? Let's check this out.
I'm on the right track, almost across the line between sanity and divinity.
All right. I know. I don't care what your guitar sounds like when you have that snare sound on your record. But, if you're listening to the right side mine versus the left side, I'm assuming that he's going to say the left side was the good guitars that his friend had, and the right side is the bad guitars that he had.
I'm standing tall to figure what it means to be on my own.
I could easily make those sound very similar to each other. It's just a lot duller on the right side. But anyway, it still sounds fine. Whatever.
That record. Shortly after Suds for Spuds, I upgraded to a J Custom Ibanez, and in our next production that we did only a couple months later, the gap in tone vanished immediately. This next production was a promo video that I made for our cover band, and again, that gap in quality disappeared immediately, and we were using the exact same mics, exact same amps, and it.
So let's see about this. You guys guess which fallacy this is? Let's see if I can find it on here. Logical fallacy is where are you? Well, okay, let's not go there yet. I'm looking for a Prost Hawk Ergopropter Hawk. I think it falls in this one, the false cause fallacy right here. You presume that the real or perceived relationship between things means that one thing is the cause of another. So you're saying, like the quality thing disappeared when he changed the wood of his guitar or whatever. I usually see it as, let me see if I can get it here. Post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. So let's so a Latin phrase meaning after this, therefore because of this. The phrase expresses the logical fallacy of assuming that one thing caused another merely because the first thing preceded the other. I don't, maybe that's not right. Maybe we shouldn't say this because of the time. We'll just say that because it was a difference, that it was the difference. If there even was a difference. I know that's another thing we'd have to go through here.
It was still me doing all of the production. As I made more recordings and discovered mistakes that I was making along the way, I began to pay attention to everything equally in the entire signal chain. The strings you use, the guitar cables you use, the interface you use. I even ditched the physical real amps for the recording process in favor of virtual amps. My goal, and it's what I do in all of my guitar reviews and in my original music, is get the cleanest, clearest signal into the DAW and then dial the virtual amp to allow the just inherent tonal qualities and characteristics of the guitar to
Very
shine.
subjective
I also
tone.
kind of discovered that as good as that J Custom Ibanez was that I had invested in, the tonal variations were a bit limited with only one instrument, so I ended up investing in a Kiesel Vader and a Strandberg Bowden Original 7. All of these guitars, importantly, are made of different wood. They also have different pickups and different
Look where the pickup is compared to the bridge. Look at that. Look at that, man. Come on. Come on, dude. You see that? Look at the difference here. Look at that. Look at that.
hardware, which makes each guitar to have different strengths or weaknesses that I try to take advantage of in my recordings. The first production that I felt like I was really nailing my tones and everything that I heard in my head and actually succeeding as a home producer was my song and single World Minus One. I was getting really aggressive modern rhythm guitar tones from the Kiesel and really nice leads from either the Strandberg or that J Custom Ibby. Finally had made it to the promised land and was getting the tones that I wanted. The problem is now when I put away my prized guitars and pick up different guitars to make my in-depth guitar reviews that I do here on my channel, it does not mean I'm nailing those tones. A lot of times, a cheaper guitar still sounds cheaper, even doing everything that I've learned to
What does it mean by sounds cheaper? I say, I'm going to tell you again, this one where you just bash this Ibanez for being cheap or whatever, I guarantee in the hands of a decent engineer that guitar is going to sound fine.
get a better tone in the first place. Or in other words, a bad sounding guitar just sounds bad.
What does it mean by a bad sounding guitar? Show me the bad sounding guitar.
Like it did back in the day when we were tracking Suds for Spuds. Every Sterling by Music Man guitar I've ever reviewed has sounded like crap. This Ibanez sounded like crap. This Legator sounded like crap. That's
And yet there's plenty of dudes who play those guitars who make awesome sounding albums. This is so subjective.
not to say
Let's
that you
move
have to
on
spend a
from
ton of money to get a good sounding guitar.
What
To
does that
say
even
if you
mean?
drop a
Let's
lot
go.
of money, it's Ibanez sounds. This is why I find trying to put some sort of percentage on how much of a difference the wood is really making to honestly just be a fool's errand.
It is a fool's errand because it ain't making any difference. There you go.
Through the years now, I've been in different recording situations, and I've found that if any one element slips, the guitar tone is going to
Probably
suffer.
scammer
If you
here.
use
Let's
crappy
just
strings on
Get to enjoy my fun. Hello, Kylo Music School. Yeah, there we go. Scammer. All right.
a good guitar, it's going to sound bad. If you use great strings on a crappy guitar, it could still sound bad. This is why I believe Andertons hit the nail on the head. Hardware and other components can be changed, but the materials the guitar is made out of stay once
all
it's
just
built.
claims.
This
You've
is
gotta
also why I
provide
don't
evidence
believe
for this.
upgrading the pickups will automatically mean you get a great sounding guitar. My experience has repeatedly shown that that is not true.
It's not
It hasn't
true
been
at all. You claim that. You haven't shown that.
true of the Ibanez guitars with the upgraded DiMarzio pickups I used on the Suds record back in the day, and it hasn't been true on the guitars that I've reviewed that have
just your
come with
claim.
upgraded pickups from the factory. The pickups cannot add the desirable complexity
These are such just bald assertions. Come on, man. You can't just make these kind of claims. You've got to provide evidence.
overtones and richness to the sound that
What are you
good
measuring richness in?
hardware and good tone woods can provide. And
You made a claim about the tone woods. You haven't shown it. This is so now we are so far into this video already. Yeah, I wonder if it's because he has his own music to plug that he might make provocative videos. Yeah, okay. So Sensodyne, that was the video we went through yesterday. Was the Spectre Sound Studios is lying about pickups, and what we ended up showing was Glenn wasn't lying. It's this guy was lying about what Glenn said. So it was a really cheeky thing to call somebody lying or dishonest when he was lying about what he even said. So whatever, man. That video's on here yesterday.
Again, that doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money in order to get a good sounding guitar. Believe me, you do not, and that's why I'm so passionate.
All right, look, I will buy. Okay, so one of the guitars that we have our kids around here buy if when they're just starting out, they want to be shredders or whatever. What used to be pre-pandemic anyway was the Dean Vendetta XM, I think it was called. It was like $100 guitar or $150 guitar. Came with pretty good fretwork, 24 frets, 2 humbuckers, and of course the one of those stop piece kind of stop tail bridges where the ground wire would always end up coming loose. So I'd show the kids, you pull the post and scratch everything up, and we'll just solder it in there. And but even with those stock pickups, we were able to make tons of great sounding albums and stuff with those things. I mean, dude, you gotta, with the modern pickups or whatever, unless they're just completely broken, noisy, no output, something, whatever. I mean, you're going to be able to get whatever. You're going to get a pretty good sound out of it.
Passionate and enjoy making the guitar reviews in the first place. It just tends to be harder with cheaper guitars. There's a lot of duds out there, and finding those diamonds in the rough that nobody knows about.
Do they even have these anymore? Let me see. Dean Vendetta XM. They still sell them. So well, they went up by $50, but whatever. I mean, if you can still buy them, can you actually still buy these things? Or are they out of print? Oh, more coming soon. Expected July. So this is it. It was just a yeah, underneath this post right here is the ground wire for the electronics. And that thing would always come loose, but that's kind of typical of these kind of guitars. Glenn had a video where he had like a the one from Tollman, the Harley Bentons, and it was doing the same thing. It was such an easy fix. Come on, man. Yeah, it'd be nicer if this had a more contoured heel, but it wasn't that bad. This is just a super cheap guitar, and man, if you can't make this thing sound good, you're in trouble. I mean, that's not where the problem is going to come from.
Is what I love. It's the thrill of the hunt, finding a great sounding cheap guitar like that Schecter or like that PRS, and then sharing it with everybody. To end this rather lengthy video, I would just like to talk directly to the people who don't believe that tone woods exist. Why do so many of y'all just default to being so rude and hostile? Straight up.
Because you're being such a Dunning-Kruger condescending, passive-aggressive chode face. How about that?
Why are you so triggered by
Why are you so triggered?
The most minute mention of tone woods?
Why are you so triggered by the most minute mention of science?
If your anger and frustration is from a place of thinking that, guitar manufacturers are just hiding behind this nebulous idea of tone woods to jack up their prices, I completely agree with you. We are totally on the same team here, so please do not take your frustration out on me or in one of my guitar reviews. You are directing this anger in the wrong place. I even recently made a video calling out Ernie Ball Music Man guitars for being just straight up overpriced, and the same is clearly true of Gibson and PRS and basically every other guitar manufacturer. I mean, just look at the pompous that Ibanez puts on the back of the headstock on their J Custom models.
Masterfully crafted for unparalleled sound, maximum playability, and exquisite beauty.
There's clearly a point of diminishing return here as well. A $6,000 guitar does not sound $4,000 better than a $2,000 guitar.
What are you measuring this in? Oh man, you're just all over it.
Add to that the absolutely out of control vintage guitar market. Yes, we are in complete agreement. There are no tone woods or magic sauce that exists to justify a $25,000 Gibson Les Paul. Claiming that it does is laughable and hilarious.
This is exactly what you've been doing this whole video. Come on.
Completely agree. I'm also going to take a minute to point out the stupid things that are, yes, said on the pro Tonewood side of this argument. Paul Reed Smith comparing the recording of an acoustic violin with a microphone to the way a pickup is detecting the vibrations of an electric guitar is pretty fucking stupid. It's an actual apples to oranges comparison. Both technologies function using radically different scientific principles. They are not the same in the least bit. And the fact that he thought
This guy just erased the whole rest of his video. Come on.
that was a convincing argument or evidence in support of Tone Woods is laughable. Statements like that clearly undermine his credibility and add to the perception that he's using this idea of Tone Woods to jack up the price of his instruments and basically price gouge the consumer. And I would completely agree. Do tone woods matter in all genres of music? Absolutely not. Like I said in the intro, if you're going for some kind of a raw, rock and roll, Jack White kind of a tone, obviously the tone woods do not matter. There might even be a case to
Wait, the cleaner you play, the less the tone wood's gonna matter? I don't think that. Man, just making claims all over.
say the cheaper, crappier sounding the guitar, the better for that style. If you're going for some kind of like a Billy Corgan, really, really oversaturated, vague, heavily distorted tone, again, it's not going to matter at all because that's not the purpose.
Doesn't matter when it's clean. Doesn't matter when it's really distorted. When does it matter? When you're playing AC/DC?
Of those tones. Those tones are not designed to allow the qualities of the instrument to breathe. So obviously, no, they do not matter in the least bit. Does not matter the material of the guitar. In the end, I would just ask that you try to remember there's a human on the other end of this video and that I am actually on your team. We may disagree on the importance of wood or tone woods in the tone of the electric guitar, and that is perfectly fine. What we do agree on, and what my channel is really all about, is about pointing out what instruments are worth your money and what instruments are not. I don't like companies that use shady gimmicks or overcharge for their instruments just as much as you don't like it. I also have no dog in this fight whatsoever. I don't make guitars, and I don't retail guitars. I also don't have any
I'm
endorsement.
starting to think Sensitized right. This guy's just trying to generate controversy to sell his albums, but he can't be that cynical. That just hurts. He can't.
Or any loyalties to any one brand over anything else. I recommend what I use and what works for me. That's the whole point of what I do here. Sometimes it's not easy being a creator here online, and let's be honest, toxicity either way doesn't do any of us any good, and
Even though you're
at the end of the
talking all this
day,
crap
it's
about other
just
people.
electric guitar tone. It's not a life or death issue. So we've made it to the end of the video. Hopefully everyone is
Let me sum up this video by using the Deepak Chopra random quote generator. The key to joy regulates irrational belonging. Or, true identity is the wisdom of subjective images. Well, we're getting real Sedona here. Emotional intelligence heals visible truth. Non-judgment serves the mechanics of brains. And with that, you are now dumber. By an hour and 30 minutes dumber from having watched my channel, watching this guy. I'm going to try and be back later on and be doing some drum editing, and I'm going to try to do some of Bobby Huff's tricks with the samples and stuff. I might actually grab that drum machine that he likes. I mean, why do I keep buying all new drum samples and stuff? I already have ones I like, and my drums sound good out in the room, so why do I keep doing this? I don't know. I'm crazy. I like learning this stuff, and I think I'm going to be, definitely going to be doing some drum editing later, and we'll see about doing some sample replacement his way. So we'll talk about that. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and wow, that was a journey into word salad. All right, I'll see you guys.